Hi everyone, welcome back to another installment of Kidding Around. My name is Melanie Smith and I'm very excited to be back with you working on another Masterpiece Monday lesson. Today we'll be talking about an artist and then we'll be using his art as inspiration for our own. So the artist that we'll be talking about is this guy. His name was Paul Cezanne and he was born in 1839 and he was a painter. And he was French, so he lived in France. He painted many paintings, but the one that we'll be talking about today is this one. And it is called Apples and Oranges, and I'm sure that you can understand why it's named what it's named. This painting is an interesting one of his because it was one in a series of 6, where he used a lot of the same subject material in the 6 paintings, and they were all quite similar. But he painted them over and over again. So it's really interesting that you can use the same subjects and paint them or draw them over and over and over again in new and different ways and make new and different art. That's kind of cool. Let's see, a few more facts about Paul Cezanne. He simplified his objects as he was painting. He was known for doing that. And so if he were to paint a tree, he might see a triangle as the tree part, and then he might also see the rectangle, or the trunk as a rectangle. So that's an interesting way to kind of break things apart as you draw things that you see, or as you paint things that you see. So seeing these apples and oranges, he probably saw them as circles or spheres before he painted them, and then was able to go back and fill in the details. So we'll be doing that too today in our lesson as well. Another interesting thing about him, I'll keep this picture up, is that he was not actually very well liked by his critics when he was alive, which is interesting to think about. But what was really cool was that the younger people, the younger generation, saw him as a master. So they definitely saw that his art was something that was interesting and something to be learned from, even though the critics didn't like him. Something interesting to think about even today as you do your own art. Not everyone's going to like it, and that's okay. As long as you do, that's what's important. All right, so let's go ahead and get started today with what we're going to do. We are going to make this, which I think you can see relates quite a bit to Cezanne's Apples and Oranges. And hey, look at that. It even has an apple in it. All right, so we are going to break apart, just like Paul Cezanne did, the shapes of an object. All right, so let's talk about the supplies that you'll need for this project. You'll need several pieces of construction paper. One large blue or maybe black, something dark piece for the background. And then you'll need 2 regular size 9 by 12 pieces, orange, and a darker green. And then you will also need smaller pieces. These are quarter sized. Regular construction size paper with light green, yellow, red, and purple. In addition, you will need a pair of scissors and a pencil. You'll also need some glue, a glue stick, and then you'll need some colored chalk in different colors. I have a light brown here, a darker brown, red, orange, green, and purple. And yes, I do have a bowl of grapes here. That's not for my snack. This is for something that we'll be doing a little bit later as we go ahead and draw those grapes. We'll want to see what they look like as they bunch up. All right, so breaking it down the same way that Paul Cezanne would have broken it down, we are going to break down our fruits and vegetables into shapes. So we're first going to start with our pumpkin. And so what we're going to do to draw a pumpkin is we're going to draw 4 ovals that are sort of touching each other. So you probably know what an oval is. An oval is kind of a circle that looks like it has been squished. So we're just going to draw 4 ovals, and they can be touching each other the way I just did that, or you can kind of put them next to each other so that one side is kind of the same as the other. It doesn't really matter. But what we're doing is we're going to do 4 big ovals like that. And I think you can probably already see how it starts to look like a pumpkin. So once you're done with your 4 ovals, you're going to outline around all 4 ovals, keeping them all connected. And look at that. You have a pumpkin. So then you're going to go ahead and cut it out. And you want to be careful as you cut this out, but of course you don't have to be perfect. Get close to the lines, work at your own speed. It's going to look like a pumpkin as long as you're close to the lines. So we're almost done. And you'll see very soon this pumpkin that I made out of 4 ovals. Who would have thought that that's all that it took to draw a pumpkin, right? All right, so we've got that, and it looks just like a pumpkin. Then we're going to draw our apple. So take out your red piece of paper, and what you'll be doing is you're going to draw a rectangle here at the bottom, and then 2 circles on top. And you want those circles to kind of go out past this edge of the rectangle. And you're going to see how this very quickly turns into an apple. As you trace around all of those, kind of leaving them as one, what are you going to find but an apple? Well, right now it looks like a funny piece of bread. But as you cut it out, you will start to see that you've got an apple on your hands, made out of 2 circles and a rectangle, which is something that I never would have guessed was possible. Thanks to Paul Cezanne for explaining this to all of us. There's your apple. All right, then take your yellow piece and you're going to draw a pear. And the way that you draw the pear is you're going to draw a circle at the bottom, kind of a big one, and then a narrower oval right at the top. Then we're going to trace around, and you'll see when we cut it out that this very quickly looks exactly like a pear. I think Paul Cezanne was onto something as he broke down everything that he saw into shapes. I wonder if that's something that you can do in your everyday life as you make your own art, whether it's based on his or not. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is make our grapes. So for the grapes, that's why I brought these out, we want to look at them kind of the way they bunch. And you can kind of see right here that they kind of layer in next to each other, but there's kind of a flatness to that bottom layer. So we're going to try to kind of imitate that. And we're going to draw some circles. And they don't have to be exact, but you can kind of give them that good base layer as they kind of sit there. And then you can go in and kind of fill in. Some are big, some are small. Remember, we're just really drawing circles here. Just kind of keep the grapes in mind as you draw them. And your circles can be small or big or sloppy. We're not going to see those. So go ahead and draw your bunch of circles. And then you're going to put that green piece of paper over the purple piece of paper so that we have both green grapes and purple grapes. And then we're going to go around and we're just going to draw right around all of those circles. And then we'll cut them out. And again, we'll have a bunch of grapes. So I'll cut these. And again, like I said, if you miss some of the line, you cut inside of the line on some and outside of the line on the others. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It's all art and it's all going to look beautiful as long as you're keeping close to it. All right. So then we have our grapes. Turn them this way. They kind of look blobby right now, but you'll see how they turn into something really fun. All right, we're going to leave the dark green piece of paper for now, and we're going to go ahead and start kind of shading to make these look a little bit more like fruits and vegetables, so that you can kind of see some texture and you can see some shadow, you can see some light where the light's hitting it. So the first thing we'll do, we'll go back to our pumpkin, and this is where we will get our orange piece of chalk out, and we're first going to just kind of trace around, just right around that outside edge. You can get a little closer than I am, you can stay a little bit further in, it's up to you. We're just going to kind of try to trace it just so we have some definition there. Kind of go around. And then what we want to do is we're going to try to make our little spine. I think that's what it's called, or the ribs maybe, of the pumpkin. So on this first one, I'm going to kind of try to curve it a little bit. And then in the middle, I'm going to kind of draw that one straight. And then I'm going to curve. It doesn't have to be major, just enough to see a little bit of a curve. And then we're going to kind of color in along those ribs with our orange. Not a lot, but just a little, just give it a little bit more definition, see what you can do there. And then we'll take our light brown and we're going to just softly, using the side of the chalk, just kind of softly give it a little bit more definition. This could be dirt, this could be shadow, this could be any number of things, but you will definitely see that it starts to look more real as soon as you add this brown to it. All right, so there we go. Looks like a pretty good pumpkin to me. All right, now let's go back to our apple. And our apple, we're going to take the red chalk that we had, and we're going to very, very lightly outline the whole thing. All right. And then what we're going to do is on the left-hand side, so over here, we're going to kind of fill it in a little bit with a little bit more of this chalk. That'll give it some definition. It looks like shadow, so it kind of looks like the light is coming from over this way. And so we're going to kind of fill that in to make it look a little bit more dimensional, three-dimensional. All right, and then we'll take some brown again, some light brown, and we're gonna, again, leave it kind of on its side and just color in. You can color in a little bit on here. That again, just adding some shadow. There you go, there's a good looking apple. All right, now the pear, what we're going to do there, we will lightly, with our brown, outline the outside there. And then we're going to kind of lightly on the side again, shade in that same area that we did kind of on the apple. And then we'll take a little bit of green, and again on its side, just kind of add just a little bit more color. Pears are very rarely just one color, so they're a combination of yellows and greens and browns all over. And there you go, there's your pear. All right, now for the grapes. What we're going to do is the same type of thing. Again, making sure that we're keeping our light coming from the same place. And we're going to fill in these grapes. So let's outline some of those. And they can touch, and if you accidentally make a circle that doesn't touch, that's okay. Just go back and kind of fill it in just like I did there. We'll do another circle and go along, kind of try to go along with the bumps that you've cut out. Like try to make sure that that matches up. But again, if it doesn't match up completely, that's okay. It doesn't have to. Nothing's exact in nature, right? You can kind of try to make some grapes, make it kind of look like appear that grapes are back behind there, so I didn't actually fill out the whole circle there. All right, and then what you want to do is fill in some of that, and then you're going to take your brown, and we're going to assume that, again, the light is coming from the same way, and we're going to fill in on each grape just a little bit of kind of like a flat C of brown. And that'll again make it look like the light is coming from this direction so that it looks a little bit more realistic. And it looks like kind of like you could pick it up. That's what I mean by three-dimensional. It has 3 dimensions. It's not just height and width, it's height, width, and depth, which is the thing you pick up. So we're going to do the same with the purple. All right, so we're making our grapes. And again, there is nothing perfect about this. Draw your circles, kind of try to stay in. Understand that sometimes grapes are big, sometimes they're small, sometimes they're kind of oval, sometimes they're more circular, however you want it. So we colored the left-hand side of these grapes, and we're going to color the left-hand side of the purple grapes now. All right. So there we go. So hopefully between these two, then you can look at them and you can kind of see the light is coming from this way and the shadow is coming from this direction. I think I may have mixed that up at one point. I'm sorry if I got that backwards, but light is coming this way, and then this part is sitting in shadow because of the way the light falls. All right, so now you have all of your fruit pieces. So what you can do is glue it all down to your background piece. You want to be really careful when you're handling these things. Obviously chalk can smudge, so I'm going to be very careful when I flip this over, and I'm not actually going to use my background piece to flip it over on. I'll put it on the table, but then what I really want to do when I pick it up is, I want to make sure I don't do what I just did there, and I don't want to slide it if I can help it. That'll keep the chalk from smearing, and then when I put it down, I'm going to push it down and not slide it that way. All right, and then you can just kind of layer them the way you want to. You know, obviously everything in the back or that you lay down first will be in the, you know, kind of visually in the back. So then I'm going to put my apple here, just kind of there in front of that little pumpkin or that big pumpkin. And then I'll do the same with my pear. And they can go the same way, they can go different ways. Let's see, we'll put this one going this way. And then I'm going to put my green grapes down. Right there, kind of snuggled into that apple. And then we'll put our purple grapes down. All right. That looks pretty yummy, I think. All right, so now once you're done with that, you get to have some fun being Paul Cezanne, and you get to draw some leaves. So what I want you to do is fold this green paper that you've got, fold it in half, and then what you're going to do is draw some shapes that you think of when you see these leaves. So I think what I am going to do for one of them, I'm going to draw a circle and then a triangle, because that kind of looks leaf shaped. And then I'm going to outline it. And you see that I kind of took some liberties in the way I outlined it. You can do it that way. You can also, like, you could make two circles and maybe a little triangle there. And then you could go kind of like make a different type of leaf. And then if you have folded these over, what you can do is cut them at the same time, and then you'll have twice as many leaves or half as much cutting, however you want to look at that. So I'm cutting out my leaf. I'm cutting out now my different type of leaf. And then I'm just going to kind of snug them in with the vegetables and fruit, mostly fruit, I guess. Or is pumpkin actually a fruit? I think I actually did hear that at one point. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. We'll have to look that one up. All right. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of put them in just however it seems kind of natural that leaves would go. And then once I have them the way that I like them, I'll take my glue and I'll just glue them down right there. They don't need a lot of glue because they're being held down by the fruit. So you can put some glue in there just to hold it. There we go. And then I like to finish off, let me put that cap back on. To finish off, I am going to then take my darker brown chalk and I'm going to draw a stem in, because, you know, most fruit, to look realistic, has stems because it had to grow somehow, right? So there's the stem for that. And here's a stem for the apple. And then we'll do a pear stem. And then I'm going to draw some veins in on these leaves, just a little bit, just to make them look a little bit more natural. Oops, that one moved a little on me. I guess I needed just a little bit more glue, which is something that's easily taken care of. Draw a couple veins on all these leaves. And there you go. This vegetable and fruit project inspired by Paul Cezanne's Apples and Oranges. Very nice job. I would love to see your pictures. Your parents can put those on our Facebook page. And I hope to see you again at our next Masterpiece Monday or any other day of the week.